In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the measures of central tendency, better known as the mean, median, mode, and range. So let's go ahead and look at an example here. It says the following data represents the total number of family pets each table group has. So this is something that we did in class, but for the purpose of the example, I'm going to make up some numbers here. Okay, the number of pets that table 1 had was 5. The number of pets that table 2 had was 9. Table 3 had 2. Table 4 had 12. Table 5 had 6. And the last table had 5. Okay, so we want to determine, using this data set, the mean, median, mode, and range. Let's start with the mean. The mean is the average of all of the numbers, which means if you take the sum of all of the data points and then divide them by how many numbers there are in the data set, that will give you the average number of the data set. So let me show you what that looks like by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and take each of our data points. I'm going to take 5, 9, 2, 12, 6, and 5. And go ahead, using your calculators, go ahead and add all of those numbers together. I got 39. Now that's not my average, because the average means that I need to divide the whole thing by how many numbers that I had in my data set. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 data points. So I'm going to go ahead and divide that 39 by 6. And that's going to give me a mean of 6.5. And that's my answer. That is the average number in my data set. So if I were to spread these data points out, I would get that 6.5 would be around the center of all the data points. We're going to really be able to see this in the next example. Let's look at the median now. The median is the middle number. But in order to find the middle number, you have to put your numbers in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to first write 2, then 5, then 5, then 6, then 9, then 12. Okay, now that they're in order from least to greatest, to find my median, I'm going to start at one end and I'm going to cross the last number off. And then I'm going to cross on the other end the other number. And then I'm going to keep going back and forth until I get to a number in the center. Now, you'll notice that if I cross off the 5 and if I cross off the 6 here, that's going to leave me with nothing in the center. When this situation happens, when you have two numbers in the center, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them together. I'm going to say 5 plus 6, and then I'm going to divide it by 2, since there are two numbers, 5 and 6. So that's going to give me 11 over 2. And if I divide 11 divided by 2, that's going to equal 5.5. So my median in this example will be 5.5. Okay, the mode. The word mode has M-O at the beginning, and so does the word most, because the mode is the number that appears the most or that occurs the most. In our case, you can see that we have two groups that have 5 pets. So therefore, 5 is our mode. Sometimes you can have a situation where you have 2 modes. So if I were to add the number 6 to this data set up here, I would have a data set that is bimodal, meaning I have 2 modes, because that would be 5 and 6. They would repeat. But let's say that I added another 6 into this data set. Now I have 3 6s. No longer is it bimodal. The mode is the one that appears the most. So in that situation, 6 would be the mode. Okay, let me go ahead and erase those because those were just for the purpose of the example. Alrighty. Now let's find the range. The range is going to be the biggest number minus the smallest number. So in our case here, our largest number is 12 and our smallest number is 2. And therefore, if we subtract those two numbers, our range will be 10. So there you have it. You have your mean, median, mode, and range of your data set. These are all of the measures of central tendency. Now, I do have another example here. Go ahead and pause the video and give this a try, and then we'll go over these together. All right, for this example, we're going to start with the mean. Again, the mean is when we add up all the numbers and divide by how many digits there are. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to add up all of my digits: 15, 21, 17, 4, 13, 28, and 9. And for this, I do not need to put these in order from least to greatest. Once I add those up, I'm going to go ahead and divide them by how many numbers there are. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 numbers. So now we just have to do a little bit of arithmetic in the calculators, and we have to add them all up. Okay, when I add them all up, I get 107, and I'm going to divide that by how many digits there actually are, and that's going to give me a mean of about 15.3. We'll round it to the 10th place. And I know that the mean is not necessarily one of our digits in our data set, but that's okay. This is where the mean is located within this data set. Okay, the median. Now we have to order these from least to greatest. So let's go ahead and do that. It looks like 4 is our first number. I'm going to go ahead and just cross him off. And then a 9. And then 13. Then 15. Then 17. 21. And 28. All right, now that they're in order from least to greatest, let's go ahead and cancel them off from the side to side. So I'm going to cancel out the 4 and the 28, the 9 and the 21, the 13 and the 17, and our middle number is going to be 15, and therefore 15 is going to be our median number. You can see that in this example, we didn't have to find the average of the middle two numbers. So sometimes if you have an odd amount of numbers, this is the situation that you will find. You will find yourself circling that center number. If you have an even number, like we did in the first example, you'll end up having to take the average of the middle numbers. All right, the mode. So the mode in this example, you can see that we don't have any numbers that repeat themselves. Sometimes that's the case, and therefore there is no mode. And the last one, the range. So we have the largest number, which is 28, and we're going to subtract the smallest number, which is going to give us a range of 24. Okay, that was our mini lesson on measures of central tendency.